Hey y'all, Jen here with my crochet basket. Welcome back to my channel. We're doing another tutorial today. We are doing some lucky cherries. It's a pair on one stem. So I thought this would be a super quick way to get us a small project that works up very fast, very beginner friendly. And you can double this as a keychain if you want. It is absolutely not required, but I thought it would be a pretty fun way to display this particular item. So let's get started with what we need. All right, so here's what we're gonna need for today's project. We need our basic crocheting supplies. We will need a 3.5mm hook for today's project, a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, and our sewing needle. Also a bit of stuffing for the cherries. I made my cherries out of this lovely red. I thought that was a pretty spot on color for them, as well as the stem out of the green. But for our tutorial purposes, I'm going to be making my next set of cherries out of this purple, just so that you can see it a little bit better on screen. Now for mine, I did go ahead and put it on a keychain. This is a keychain loop with a chain attached to it that I bought off of Amazon. If I remember, I'll try to put the link to that in the description below. And then if you're going to do that, you do need 2 sets of needle nose pliers or some kind of jewelry pliers to be able to connect everything together. And I'll show you how I do that at the end. All right, let's get started. Okay, so as we go, I will be putting the written instructions up on screen. Hopefully this will help you sharpen your skills with reading patterns and help you follow along a little bit better. So we are going to be starting our project on a magic ring. So I am going to lay the tail end across my hand and then take my working yarn, wrap it around, make sure that it crosses over to the back. And then I am going to insert my hook underneath the first loop and grab the second to pull it through. Now I'm going to gently let my fingers go. And here is our magic loop. And now we just need to do a chain stitch to secure the loop. And we are going to be doing yarn under single crochet for this whole project. So if you aren't familiar, we will yarn under by putting our hook over the yarn so that the yarn is under it. That is exactly what that means. And then for the second pass, we will go just a standard yarn over, grab it and pull it through both loops. I'll demonstrate that one more time for you. Insert your hook into the loop, yarn under, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through the 2 loops that are on your hook. So we need 6 loops or 6 single crochet in total, and then we will meet back up for round 2. Okay, there's our 6th single crochet, and once we've got all of our stitches on here, we are just going to pull our loop tight, just like that. And there we go. Now at this point I'm going to grab my stitch marker because as soon as I make this next single crochet, I'm going to mark that next stitch. It'll be the first stitch in round 2. So in order to do this first single crochet, I'm going to insert my hook under both loops of the very first single crochet that I made in that magic ring. And we're going to continue doing the yarn under. So I am going to put my hook over the yarn, pull it through, have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2. And I am going to mark that stitch before we go on. Now in this round we are increasing in every stitch. So I will end up with 12 when we get to the end of this round. And so in order to do that increase, I'm just going to insert my hook into the very same stitch that I made my last stitch in, so that there are 2 single crochet in that stitch. And I will repeat that all the way around. There's 12. All right. Now we are going to do 1 single crochet in the next single crochet. Same thing, we're going to yarn under and then yarn over, put our stitch mark right back in there so we don't lose our spot. And in the next stitch, we are going to do another increase. So we will do 2 in the second stitch. And we're going to repeat that pattern. So 1 single crochet in the next, 2 in the one after that. And we should end up with 18 single crochet by the time we get to the end of round 3. And I will meet you back up. All right, there is 18 single crochet all the way around. I'm gonna pull on that center thing just a little bit more, see if I can close that hole up. There we go, that's better. All right, now we are going to do 3 more rounds of 18 single crochet. So we're just gonna put 1 single crochet in every single stitch around. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and work that off camera, and I will meet you back up, but rounds 4, 5, and 6 are 18 single crochet on each round. All right, see you in a second. All right, I am at the end of round 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now we are going to do a single crochet and a decrease for round 7. So that our stitch count will be back down to 12. We're going to go ahead and start closing. So I'll show you how I do those. So let's do our first single crochet. Don't forget to put your stitch markers back, guys. And then I'm going to do what's called an invisible decrease. So I'm going to pick up the front loop of the first stitch and the back loop of the second stitch, and then I'm going to finish it just like I would any other single crochet, just like that. And I'll show you that one more time. So pick up the first loop of the first stitch and the back loop of the back stitch, yarn over, or yarn under, I'm sorry, pull it through, yarn over, and pull through 2. There we go, and I'm going to do that all the way around, and like I said, we should have 12 single crochet when we're done. All right, so here is the end of round 7, and we are gonna go ahead and stuff this little guy because the next round is the last one. It really doesn't take a whole lot of stuffing, and for this particular project, we really don't want to overstuff it. One of the signature marks of a cherry is that the center of where the stem comes out is slightly indented, and so we want to pack this fairly well with stuffing, but we want to make sure that we leave enough room, that way whenever we go to sew on our stem that it's not fighting us too much. It lets us get a little bit of that dent look in it. All right, I think that's about all that we're going to be able to fit in here. Okay, and I like to just kind of push everything out to the side. It just makes the top a little cleaner, and that way whenever we're closing, it also isn't so bad when we go to insert our hooks into that last round of stitches. Put this away. All right, now we are going to be doing 6 decreases to close the top of this cherry. Now I will tell you, my yarn in particular is kind of slippery and I don't have enough tension. So what I am doing to fix that is I'm actually going to wrap it an entire loop around my pinky, and then I'm going to wrap this strand around my first finger, and that second loop around my pinky finger will help give me more tension as I work. And then I'm also going to be putting my finger in here to push down the stuffing away from this last round of stitches so that I can work without my hook constantly grabbing the stuffing. And we're going to be doing those invisible stitches again, or those invisible decreases again. So we go under the front loop of the first one and back loop of the second. And then we work it just like a normal single crochet. All right, there were my 6 decreases, and now we have this lovely little plump cherry. All right, and that's it for the first cherry. So now we're going to do our finish. So I'm going to leave a length of yarn so that I can sew the end closed. just going to pull my loop out. I'll thread it onto the needle. And then my preference for closing is to pull up the outside loop. Let's see if I can get that to come into focus for you. There we go. So my preference for closing is to just use my needle to grab the outer loop of all of the stitches around the end here. So we should make 6 passes, and we're just gently pulling it tight as we go. And it'll naturally just close up on its own. 3, 4, 5, and here's 6. All right, and then to secure it, I am just going to use my tapestry needle to go underneath all of those same stitches a couple of times around. And then I'm going to go straight from the bottom, or straight from here to the other side. Here we go. You'll see when I pulled that tight, do you see how it gave me that lovely little indent right there? It's gonna help us make it look a bit more like a cherry. And we'll reinforce that with the stem. I'm just doing the same thing that I did on the other side. I'm just weaving that into a couple of the stitches that are up here, just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. We'll poke our needle through just to give some invisible length. We'll cut this off. And there we have it. If you have a little bit that pokes out, I don't know if you can see mine. I've got just a little bit. You can just take your needle from another side and just kind of move it over. It's a great little trick for getting those ends to go away. And if you have anything like this, my hook accidentally grabbed some of the stuffing right there, just pull it out. It's okay. And I would even recommend that you throw it back into your stuffing bag to save for later. All right, there's the first of our cherries. I am going to pop off camera and make the second one. I'll have a timestamp if you need the instruction again, so that you can go back and rewatch this, and then we'll get the stem done. All right, I have both of my cherries made, and now we just need to make the stem, and this part is actually super quick. So all we are going to do is we are going to do 10 chains to get us started, and the magic loop, but we close it this time for an adjustable loop, or a slip knot rather, I'm sorry. And then we are just going to chain 10, so we'll yarn over, pull through, and do that 10 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to turn, and we are going to slip stitch into this, we're going to skip the first single crochet, and we're going to slip stitch into the next 4. I like to turn mine over and grab the back loop. If that is a little complicated or confusing, feel free to just grab this top loop of the front of the braid. I just prefer the look of the back loop. I don't think it really makes that big of a difference though. And we are just going to yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again without yarning over the last loop on our hook. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we are going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we're going to leave a decent sized tail so that we can attach this onto our cherries. All right. Okay, so here is our stem. We have the 2 sides and our tails coming off of each one. So I'm just going to grab one, it doesn't really matter which. I'm going to thread it onto my sewing needle, And then I am going to insert my hook from the flattened side right in the center, and then I'm going to pull it out down here right at the very center of the bottom of our cherry. There we go. And pull it all the way through. You can pull it fairly taut. If you notice that the crocheted part of the stem is trying to come through, you may want to actually thread just one of the loops that are up here to kind of keep that from happening before you pull it through to the bottom. Mine have been pretty good. I had one a couple of days ago when I was working on some of these that it just popped right through there. So just a little trick in case you need it. I'm not going to worry about weaving this in too many times, but I am going to worry about pulling it tight enough that you can't see it come through the purple. You can see where I went in here and now that it's kind of disappeared. And so we're just going to go through just a few of the stitches very close together just to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And then we'll pull it tight to where it disappears. And then as closely as you can to where you last pulled the yarn out of, we're going to insert our hook and we'll just pop it out the side somewhere of your cherry. And again, just pull it tight enough so that you don't see anything popping out anywhere. And we're going to cut this as close to our cherry as we can. And again, with that lovely little trick with our needle, just grab it, go back and forth a little bit to make sure that any of our excess goes back inside. Okay, we have our first cherry attached. Now we're gonna repeat this process with the second one. Okay, so now that we've got our cherries completely made, you are more than welcome to stop here if you like, but if you would like some instruction on how to attach the keychain element, I will show you how I do that. So here is the key ring. And I'm going to need a couple of tools. So the way I did it on this one, I didn't actually end up using the links of chains. This particular kit does come with what are called jump rings. So these are the same size as this first larger loop here. And you could use this, you would hook it onto the bottom of this chain and then hook it right to the top, and you would have this additional length for that key ring. But because this already is so dangly, I really didn't like the look of it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open this jump ring and I am going to remove this extra length and I'm going to use this jump ring directly into the top of our stem. So how we do that is we're going to grab one side of the jump ring with one of our sets of pliers and then this other side of the jump ring, and we're just going to gently twist to pop that open. Let me see if I can get that clearly in focus for you. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get that. I'm so sorry that that's not coming in a little clearer, but I've just separated the two halves just by gently twisting. Okay, now to get it on here though, I am going to use this good set of pliers. I'm going to open that up just a little bit wider because it'll make it easier for the yarn to get in there. And then with me holding this just like this with the pliers, I am going to thread it through several strands at the very top of the stem. And just like that, it's on there. And then I'm going to take these pliers and just do the reverse. I'm now going to re-close that up. I do want to double check and just make sure that there's no gap in the jump ring so that nothing slips out. We don't end up getting it to where it's constantly snagging on the fabric. But there we go, guys. We've got our cherries all done. How fast was that? All right, well, hey, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions on the next one, feel free to leave it in the comments and I would be happy to chat with you guys. All right, thanks so much. Until next time. Bye, guys.